So
Oh, it's both of us. Oh, I thought it was just me. Okay.
no,
right,
no.
All right.
It was gonna be two of us. Okay, guys, I'm here with head coach of University of Florida, Mary Weiss. I'm gonna ask her a few questions about recruiting. Uh, so, Mary, what are top three things you look for when you're looking at the recruit?
I think the number one thing we look for is athleticism. Athleticism can be enhanced, but there's certain DNA types. So in terms of foot speed, jumping ability, innate quickness, ability to change direction, strength, those are all pieces that we can identify as we're watching players. And that would be number one. Then beyond that, it's skill. And depending on how old they are, that would be it would play into how developed in skill are we expecting. But there are certain pieces in the game, if we're looking at setters, just how good is the touch on their ball from an early standpoint. For hitters, what's their arm swing look like? And those are things that are more difficult to change. And so we're looking for that, how skilled are they? And then the third piece is how far are they in understanding the game? What's their volleyball IQ look like? And those are things that we assess without ever meeting a player. So just by watching, that's what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. So looking at the IQ, you just look at the video and you're trying to see if she has the IQ or whether she does have IQ or not. Or you also conversate about it.
At Florida, we spend less energy watching video. It is more how
Right.
important it is. We may, once in a while we may get a video that interests us, and then we know we have to see them in person. And then watching a player in person, watching their decision making. Do they understand the game? Do they make and their role on their team? Are they can you tell by watching them, are they the go-to player? Are they competitive? Do they want the ball at the end of the, when the set is tight? And do they make good decisions? And that is part of the IQ can be enhanced as well. But there's something about this, does he play with a certain game that as a competitor who wants to win, he'll do the small things to help her win.
Right. Have you ever recruited players strictly from just watching a video?
No.
Never happened. Okay. What are some things that you would find not attractive for a recruit to do? I guess some, not to do as a recruit that you're looking for.
Well, I don't think we spend a whole lot of energy because if they're doing those things, we're not recruiting them. But yeah,
But even if she's an amazing player, skilled player, go-to player, what are some things that would kind of throw you off, or
Yeah, I think for Florida recruits, we're looking players that play with passion, that compete. We love players that bring high energy, but we also love players who may not be the loudest on the team, but plays with a composure. Personality, we're looking for that. So we talk about with our own players that there are different personalities on the team, givers and takers, and the givers are giving energy and exuding confidence and building their teammates up, and a taker takes from that. So one of the things we would look for if a player is a taker, if she doesn't make eye contact with her teammates, if she is not engaged in a timeout as her coach is talking, if she seems more into her own self as opposed to her teammates, those would be some warning signs.
Right, so if we're on that topic, let me ask you a question. Let's say the player is amazing, physically, jumps 13 feet, it's all over the top every time, but her attitude is not there. She's a taker at her, but she's still in high school. Would you still consider a player like that? Would you give her a chance, or you give up on those players right away?
I don't know, give up is the word. When we make pass
My English is
on them.
limited.
No, it's okay. I think we would do, again, depending on the age, because a young player, she can mature. I think if she matures physically, she can mature emotionally. I think it'd be a discussion that we would have with our coaches. These are the things we like about her, but these are the things, that we might have a concern with, and then follow up, because we won't make a decision on a 15-year-old who has a bad attitude.
Right.
Give her a chance to mature.
Right.
But in our game, I don't think those players survive. I just don't think, we're too interdependent about the way volleyball is played, that you either learn how to play with your teammates or you go pick a different sport.
Right. I happen to notice that here, working with you guys last year. It's hard to walk with the bad attitude to this gym. You see everyone like working hard and following the team culture. It's really hard to be different and then have the attitude or just performing, in a different style than what is expected in the Florida gym. So I agree with you. What about the academics? How important that is?
It's critical. But in terms of the quality of education, Florida attracts some of the best students in the entire country, in the world, and so our athletes are competing against outstanding students. So it's difficult. You cannot come here and coast. You have to be incredibly committed to work as hard in the classroom as they do in the gym. That's not easy. That means you're working all day long, and it doesn't mean that we're only going to recruit the A students. We can recruit players, and will bring in players who may not have found their groove in high school, but they have to be willing to put in the time in the academic center, working with the tutors, working with the academic advisor, putting in the work, and then to overcome, maybe they didn't have those opportunities early on, but you cannot coast. You can't coast in our gym, and you can't coast in our school.
Right. What about how early do you start looking at the recruits? You look, obviously, the probably difference in different programs. Some coaches look at it last minute or a few months before, a year before. How is it here in Florida?
I would answer that by never too early. That there might be a what we call a junior high. So that's like a 7th and 8th grader. It could be a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old. That doesn't mean looking at them is different than recruiting. We don't recruit them that early because the rules don't allow us. But sure, if we walk by a court and you see a young player, and what we'll do is make note of her name and try and circle back, watch her a year from now. So it would be very typical in the summer after a player's 8th grade. We may see them before then, but we work really hard to identify the players summer after their 8th grade year, and to watch them know what do they look like a year from now. And the way the rules just changed this month ago, that we can have no communication with them until June 15th following their sophomore year. So we may identify them their 8th grade, and we watch them their 9th grade, but we have no communication with them. We watch them their 10th grade, still no communication until June 15th following their 10th grade.
So I guess the earliest you can sign right now is 2021 after June 15th officially sign.
No. You don't officially sign until November of your senior year.
Oh, really? Okay, you can have a verbal commit.
Correct.
Okay.
But you do not sign until November of your senior year.
So verbal commit is basically this players is signed between the team and the player.
No sign.
And they cannot change their mind.
Nope.
Sorry, commit. Verbal commit.
They can change their mind anytime.
They can.
Absolutely.
But from your experience, isn't verbal commit like you expect the player to?
Yes, but it's
join?
not unheard of.
Okay.
For a player to change her mind.
Do coaches get upset?
Sure. You work really hard, you recruit them, you have their commitment. But circumstances change. What if a player, who and I think you'll see less of it because we won't have the early commitment. Because meaning, if I have no dialogue, a player has never met me, they're not going to commit until that happens. And the first opportunity for that dialogue is after their 10th grade. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what we would hope, that's what the NCAA changed the rules for. Their hope was back the recruiting up so that they are really looking at schools in their 11th grade, as is their classmates. And then hopefully that will be less of the transferring that happens in college. But again, you can commit, they could still commit anytime. But an offer cannot be made until after June 15th, following the sophomore year. And then it does not become official until national letter of intent signing November of their senior year.
November senior, that's letter of intent. That's where it's fully official.
You got it. You got it.
Okay. Yeah, I had two questions, but you basically answered that. I asked personality traits, but I think your main thing is the giver taker, which you emphasize at the camps. Okay, last questions. What would be your recommendations for recruits that want to play in college or high level, like here in Florida?
Play for one.
Play in college volleyball.
Yeah, meaning play. If you want to play, play volleyball.
Right, get a scholarship. Get a scholarship as a player.
Yeah. No, I meant my answer would be the first thing they should do is play.
That's
right.
That's definitely that's a key.
Given.
That's a key.
Not all girls can play on a high level based on where they live, but play in the most competitive opportunities you can. So as meaning instead of playing at with a team that isn't quite as accomplished, go challenge yourself, play as difficult a schedule as you can, attend camps of the schools you're most interested in, and I would also encourage, for as long as you and your family can, play multiple sports. Meaning, if a young player growing up falls in love with volleyball, which we hope, don't give up on track or basketball or softball or the other sports until there'll be a point in time where it's hard to do, and then it becomes impossible to do more than one sport. But as long as you can, play more sports. The best athletes we've ever had here all played more than just volleyball growing up.
Right, I agree with you. I think coordination, just developing the coordination, like you said, footwork, speed, agility, it helps a lot if you play multiple sports. Okay, Mary, thank you so much. You answered all the questions, and I think
yay for me.
Yeah,
You're welcome,
good job.
Kaitan.
You definitely answered a lot of questions for the young players. So
okay.
thank you.
You got
thank you. Yeah.